Boom, we're live. Episode 82 of MMA Complete Podcast underway. What's going on, guys? Thank everybody for joining. I am Zach Drapo. Check out fansonlysports.com where we've been posting a bunch of shit lately. Shout out to them. Shout out to their Twitter, YouTube. Go follow us on our YouTube, MMA Complete Podcast, and our Twitter, @complete_MMA, which should be at the bottom of the screen. Give me a second here. There we go. All right, thank you everybody for joining. We have a pretty decent show for you today. We had a fight night went on. Was there a fight night last weekend? There wasn't actually. So we have more to talk about for UFC 270, which we just saw 2 weeks ago, and then we have a fight night coming up this weekend that actually has a bunch of intriguing matchups, plus a UFC pay-per-view which will be coming live February 12th. Make sure you check us out for our live reaction stream, which we do for every pay-per-view. February 12th, we're going to start it right around 10 o'clock. Go for the main card. That UFC pay-per-view is going to be Adesanya versus Whitaker 2. And then we also have Derek Brunson versus Jared Cannonier in the co-main event, along with a couple other really good fights. Oh, that's UFC 271. My mistake. February 12th, UFC 271. We also have Derek Lewis versus Tai Tuivasa, heavyweight matchup that is probably going to have a knockout in the first round, so that's exciting. Kyler Phillips versus Marcelo Rojo in a bantamweight bout that should probably give someone who is a fringe 15 ranking, should put them into the top 15. And then we also have a bunch of other really good preliminary fights, which we will get to later on in the show. But for right now, I want to open up a couple comments. You see you guys are actually starting to come in real quick, so I want to see if you guys have anything you want to talk about. And while I wait for your comments to flood in, we're going to go over this fight night coming up. So you got 2 to 3 arguably fights of substance of pretty good proportions. The main event is a very big fight in the middleweight top 10 rankings between Jack Hermansson and Sean Strickland. So Sean Strickland kind of took the UFC by storm last year, making his way up the ranks in the middleweight division and not losing any fights. Whereas Jack Hermansson was fringe top 5 guy the whole year. Like he had a win and he had a loss. He had a pretty bad loss to Marvin Vettori, who came short notice and then beat him up for 5 rounds. And then he was able to beat Edmund Shabazian pretty handedly in a fight that he should have won anyway. So Hermansson has a lot to prove. Sean Strickland doesn't have that much to prove, but he will certainly prove to the world that he is a top 5 middleweight contender if he can beat Jack Hermansson. This is a fight that I would definitely bet on the over in the time length, whatever that may be. I'm going to guess it's like 4.5. If it's anything less than 4.5, I'd be shocked because Sean Strickland goes to the decision almost every single time he's out there. And Jack Hermansson is, he's a good striker, but he's a consummate wrestler. And Sean Strickland has a pretty good background in wrestling anyway. So I think this fight is definitely going to go the distance. As I check real quick for that stat, Sportsbook does not have... Oh, it's over under 4.5. Yeah, like I thought. As of right now, Sean Strickland is the heavy favorite. I don't know how I feel about that because Jack Hermansson... I've been a Hermansson guy for a while now, and while he did get outed by Vettori last year, we saw that Vettori was way better than people initially thought, and I think that fight took a lot of credit away from Hermansson that he should have. And then Sean Strickland hasn't had a whole hell of a lot of really good competition. You know, he's 24-3, but if you look at his last couple fights, he beat Uriah Hall, who is just a striker. He beat Brendan Allen, who is still on the come up, and it was both guys' best fight. And he beat Jack Marshman. So he's beaten a couple top 15 guys, and he's on a 4-fight win streak. But other than that, his persona is really put him in the forefront of media when he is in fights because he's an asshole and that sells in the UFC. But Jack Hermansson is by far the best fighter he's ever fought, and Jack Hermansson is the underdog. I'm going to take Jack Hermansson right now. I really think that Hermansson and the over is going to hit, although I'm not as confident in the over because Hermansson definitely could put Strickland away. Both guys could put each other away. I think it's going to be a really interesting fight. I think it's, if you're not totally into a equal struggle / wrestling grappling match, this isn't going to be the fight for you because it's going to be a fight that's very close and highly contested between two guys that are trying to make top 5 ranks for themselves. The promotional value to it might be decent because Sean Strickland is an asshole. He's like Colby Covington's persona if Colby wasn't faking it. Like, Sean's kind of that asshole in real life, too, which is pretty funny and cool to see. And Jack Hermanson is totally a soft-spoken, I'm just going to go in the ring and beat your ass kind of guy. Also on the card, we have it's not the co-main event, but it is a main card fight between the up-and-coming welterweights, Shavkat Rakhmonov and Carlston Harris. Now, this fight holds a lot of meaning for me and Austin Garvey, another co-host of the show, because the pod bets that we had for UFC 270 hit like a motherfucker. They did very well, but we partnered them with adding Shavkat Rakhmonov. So, Shavkat Rakhmonov, if you didn't know, is 14-0. I believe he's 2-0 in the UFC, and he is 27 years old. He's fighting Carlston Harris, who's on a 3-fight win streak, including 2 first-round knockouts in his last 2 fights. Rakhmonov is a grappler. Carlston Harris is a striker. I'm really hoping, by the way, Rakhmonov is a pretty heavy favorite. I'm really hoping that Rakhmonov is able to end this fight early. I don't have an over-under, but I think that Rakhmonov should be able to take him down, similar to what we saw Said Nurmagomedov do last week. Is it last week? It's 2 weeks ago now at UFC 270. I think he's going to take him down, submit him, beat him up on the ground early. And if that hits, then we are 3 of 4 of our last pod bets, and that's just awesome. Stay tuned for the show. We're going to start going over the UFC 271 pod bet, by the way, which we will start listing off soon. We're going to get more deeply involved, and we're going to have a final product come out next week on our show. Shows we do every Thursday at 7 p.m. We also do live streams for every single UFC pay-per-view from 8 or 10 p.m. all the way through the main event. We are going to be starting at 10 p.m. for UFC 271. And that is all I have for the opening monologue, I guess you could say. Fight night coming up this weekend should be good. It's not going to be crazy. It's not going to be great. But it's going to hold a lot of implications, not only in the UFC middleweight division, but for us as bettors, for our pod bets that we have been doing very well in. So go Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think Jack Hermanson's going to win. I also think that the over is going to hit in that fight. And then let me see if I can find... Does the Rakhmonov-Harris have an over-under? The over-under is 1.5, and the over's favorited. I would take the under in that fight. I think that the under is going to hit because Rakhmonov, I think, will put him away early. And since I last checked, people have been hammering Carlston Harris. So I might put in more money on Rakhmonov. But anyway, that's all we got for the monologue. The fight night's going to be good. The pay-per-view is going to be better. And when we do return from a quick commercial break, we are going to get into that UFC pay-per-view. And I'm also going to answer a couple of the comments because we've had like 2 or 3 real quick. So make sure you stay tuned. We're going to be coming back with UFC 271 talk. You're watching MMA Complete Podcasts, brought to you by Fans Only Sports Network. Make sure you check out all of our socials and go check out Fans Only Sports Network, fansonlysports.com for more articles, sports media content, and podcast views. All right, we're back. UFC 271 is going to be what we're talking about for the rest of the podcast. I will say a couple comments have dropped. Sarah asked, why do I think Jack Hermanson's going to win? I kind of explained that already. I think he is the toughest opponent Sean Strickland's ever had. I think that Hermanson is a better wrestler than Strickland, and I think that Hermanson has more to prove, and he's going to come into the fight a little hungrier. I'm definitely going to mix up your name, but Briatano says, Briatano. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Said that Adesanya is going to kick ass and that should be part of the pod bet next week. I will not give away our final pod bet until next week, but just know that fight I haven't decided on yet. I've not decided on. Robert Whittaker is a really, really strong opponent against Adesanya, and I know he got flatlined in the first fight twice, but I think that Whittaker's learned from that. Whittaker is going to need to have a much different game plan for this second fight, and I think he knows that. I hope he does. And the last comment I will read is that we are going live on UFC 271 on February 12th. Yes, we are. We're going to go live around 8 to 10 p.m. on February 12th, Saturday night, and we're going to go live all the way through 1 o'clock. Okay, here we go. UFC 271 is going to be a pretty good pay-per-view. There's a lot of preliminary fights that are interesting, as there has been for the last couple pay-per-views. The UFC's been doing a very good job of keeping decent upcoming fighters and people of noticeable name on pay-per-views, and it shows with the fight night that's happening this week. Is it has some names and some ranked people, but there's not a huge amount, and it's because the pay-per-view is coming up the next week and they don't want to give away all their great fights. But let me just read off a couple names of fighters that are going to be in the prelims and the early prelims of UFC 271 this Saturday. AJ Dobson versus Jacob Malkoun, Carlos Oberg versus Fabio Cherant, Alexander Hernandez versus Renato Moicano. You got Alex Perez versus Matt Schnell, which is a top 10 flyweight bout in the prelims. Roxanne Modafferi versus Casey O'Neill, which is a top 10 women's flyweight bout in the prelims. UFC future Hall of Famer Andrei Arlovsky versus Jared Vanderaa. Those fights are all going on before 10 o'clock, so you're going to get your money's worth if you watch the whole fight. And then you have two fights that are fringe. Maybe they shouldn't be in the main card. Like, you could easily have put in Alex Perez versus Matt Schnell, in the main card, and it would make more sense because they are names of substance and they do have the ranking behind them, and especially for Alex Perez, who I believe is number 4 right now in the flyweight division, which is heating up. Go check out our last week's podcast if you want to hear me talk more about the flyweight division, because the flyweight division has been insane, and I think we talked about it last week. For our UFC superlatives last year, we picked featherweight division as the best division of the year. I think that flyweight division is well on its way to being the best division of 2022. I really do believe that, especially with the upcoming quadrilogy that is expected to happen between Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo. I think it's quadrilogy. I really wish someone was here to say that I'm wrong, but I think it's quadrilogy, and if it's not, then at least you guys got a good laugh out of it. But anyway, Bobby Green versus Nasrat Haqparast is an interesting fight. Bobby Green coming off a pretty big knockout win over Al Iaquinta. Nasrat Haqparast coming off a loss against Dan Hooker. So both of these guys are right on the cusp of top 15. Bobby Green might be a little bit more down than Haqparast, just for the fact that Haqparast is a young, up-and-coming prospect, and the UFC likes to highlight those more. But this is going to be a decent fight. I think Bobby Green is going to knock out Haqparast. The 35-year-old's been on a tear lately. Haqparast is not great against good strikers, which we saw against Dan Hooker. That one's pretty cut and clear to me. To be honest with you, I have not put as much attention into this fight as I have other fights on the card, because I don't believe that there's much room for error here. I think Bobby Green is going to be the favorite, which I will check real quick. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. Looking on the wrong card, my bad. I hate when it's so silent. Yeah, Bobby Green is the big favorite of this fight against him and Haqparast, and I think that this is going to be a knockout win for Bobby Green. Over-under has not been put out yet, so that is a wash. If it's anything under 2.5, I'm going to go with the under because of Green's power. Coming up next, Kyler Phillips versus Marcelo Rojo. This is totally going over. Everybody stamp it. It's the easiest bet of the night. Rojo versus Phillips is going to be over. So we will get the pod bet started. Now here's the thing. We say this about the pod bets all the time. We don't love mix over-unders. And a lot of the times the over-unders where at the casino that we are near here in Tiverton, Rhode Island, doesn't even put over-unders out. It's been so strange. They used to always do it, and then since like UFC 267, there's just some fights that they don't put the over-under out. And I get that, especially for fights like this, that the over is going to be like minus 400 anyway. But it's going to hit. So. And obviously, if it hasn't come out yet, the over statistic has not been announced, but it's going to be 2.5 because it's a bantamweight fight and these guys are going the distance. It is a 3-round fight, so it's definitely going to be over. Or it's definitely going to be 2.5, I should say. Now, Kyler Phillips was in a fight of the night candidate last year against Raulian Paiva, and Kyler Phillips did really well in the first round, but he kind of lost it towards round 2 and 3. Marcelo Rojo, I'm not as familiar with. Kyler Phillips is going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. Phillips is also 26 to Rojo's 33. Rojo is 0-1 in the UFC, it looks like. His only fight, he lost to Charles Jourdain. Kyler Phillips, a quick background on him, although I do have it on my spreadsheet, don't I? I don't think I have Rojo. I definitely have Phillips on my spreadsheet, which if you want to look at my spreadsheet where I not only have UFC's rankings, but I also have my own rankings personalized with the fighters' last 5 fights, how they did, some notes on different fighters, but that's usually... I'm going to add to them, but for right now, it's just for like the top fighters that I have all the notes on. And I also have superlatives that we at MMA Complete consider and the upcoming fights for the next 3 months. So if you guys want to know that, go follow us on Twitter and go leave comments saying that you want the database. Kyler Phillips, he's 4-1 in the UFC. He did have a victory over Song Yadong, which is very impressive, but then he lost to Raulian Paiva. So Phillips looking to get back on track for a top 15 ranking, although breaking into the bantamweight's top 15 ranking is super tough, evident by Said Nurmagomedov not even getting into the UFC's top 15 after his huge win against a ranked opponent, Cody Stamann, in the pay-per-view, which makes absolutely no sense, but we've talked about that last week to death. Let me just double check that hasn't changed. It is not. Said Nurmagomedov absolutely should be in the top 15 rankings, if not like top 10, based on his performance last week. Kyler Phillips versus Marcelo Rojo. I'm going to go with Phillips here. Because I think he has the experience factor. He's younger, he has a reach, and he's been in bigger fights than Rojo. The Bobby Green fight, I don't want to add to the pod bet. We might sprinkle around with that, but I'm not as sure about it as I am of the over, and I definitely am not putting Phillips or Rojo on the pod bet because that fight really could go either way, even though Phillips should be favored, and I do believe he is. Kyler Phillips is heavily favored in this fight, actually. All right, moving on to the big fights of the night. There's 3 huge fights of major implications in this pay-per-view, UFC 271, coming up in 2 weeks' time, or a week and a half from now, right now when we're recording. So let's start it off with the third fight from the top. So the fight that was supposed to be the co-main event got moved down because of the Black Beast, which we'll get to in a second. Jared Cannonier versus Derek Brunson for the middleweight, in my opinion, number 2 contendership. You could say number 1. Right now, number 1 contender is Robert Whittaker. And if he loses, it's likely that he will become number 2 to whoever wins this fight. If Adesanya were to lose, he would obviously be number one contender until he gets his rematch. But the winner of this fight, because as of right now, you have number 3 Jared Cannonier versus number 4 Derek Brunson. In my own personal rankings, which doesn't matter, but I'm going to tell you anyway because it's my podcast, I have Brunson at the number 2 contender, and I have Cannonier at the number 4 contender because Derek Brunson has been on an absolute tear in the last 2 years. 5-fight win streak, including Shabazian, Holland, and Darren Till. Out-wrestled Ian Heinisch, Edmund Shabazian, and Kevin Holland, and then knocked out Darren Till. He's been on a tear, but he's going up against Jared Cannonier, who, to me personally, was given a title of top 5 contender too quickly. He beat David Branch, who's old. Yeah, he beat Anderson Silva, who's old and got injured. And he beat Jack Hermanson, which is nice. But he lost to Robert Whittaker pretty decisively, and then he beats Kelvin Gastelum, and who hasn't beaten Kelvin Gastelum? No offense to Kelvin Gastelum, who is the best gatekeeper the UFC's ever had. You know what I mean? Like, he could lose 5 fights to the top 5 contenders, which is exactly what happened in the last 2 years. But anyway, moving on. Jared Cannonier versus Derek Brunson is a really good fight, and it's a fight that I truly believe Derek Brunson will distinguish how great his wrestling is. Because as we said, he out-wrestled Kevin Holland, which is not impressive. He out-wrestled Edmund Shabazian, which was kind of impressive going into the fight, but we noticed as soon as it was in there, like, oh no, Brunson's way better at this. But Jared Cannonier can wrestle. And I think Derek Brunson not only is going to be able to out-wrestle him, but he's going to be able to possibly land a couple haymakers, because Cannonier's striking is a bit more efficient, and Cannonier is ripped as all hell, but Brunson's more powerful, I do believe. I think this fight might end early. I think it might end early. I'm really not comfortable going either way. And of course, the over-under is not out yet. It looks like the over-under has not been posted to Sportsbook Rhode Island for any of the fights for UFC 271. So make sure you check out us next week when we'll definitely be going over more of the over-unders. What is Brunson? Brunson, last time we checked, was plus 170 underdog. And Brunson's plus 150 now, so people have actually been taking him. Which might mean that we should hit this before it goes away. But for right now, as we talked about last week, Derek Brunson is going to be on the pod bet. Now, here's the thing about this bet. It's dangerous as all hell because Jared Cannonier's a savage and he's a great striker and he can knock out Brunson for sure. I'm going to really think about the under in this fight in the Brunson Cannonier because I think either guy is going to be able to finish it quickly. But Derek Brunson's on a 5-fight win streak. To me, Jared Cannonier has one impressive win, and that's against Jack Hermanson, who had a bad couple years, let's be honest. And he had a fight against Kelvin Gastelum that was impressive, but Kelvin Gastelum's had a bad, quotation bad, because he only fights amazing fighters, bad year. And Brunson's on a tear, man. Like, Brunson's last loss, if I'm not mistaken, was to Adesanya 2.5 years ago when Adesanya was on the come-up. I like Brunson. I don't know why he's not favored in this fight, to be honest with you. Maybe the UFC inner circle know more than I do about Cannonier, but at the same time, I think that Brunson is going to be the aggressor in the fight, and I think he's going to have several takedowns, and he's going to be more efficient in the fight. Last time we saw Cannonier against a top fighter, it was Robert Whittaker, and Whittaker out-wrestled Cannonier, and I think it's going to be the same thing. So we have 2 bets for the pod bet so far. Liking them. I really like the Phillips Rojo over. I'm gonna add the over for the Cannonier fight. I'm gonna add the under. Excuse me. Unless it's 1.5, which I feel like it might be, and then I'm not gonna touch it. It's probably going to be 1.5. That would be most likely for me in a 3-round fight. And if it is if the over under is 1.5, I might even hit the over. I think it's. I don't think it's going the distance. I don't think it's going the distance, and it could. I don't think it's going to end in the first round either. I think it's going to be a second or third round stop. And we're definitely going to get more into that when we find out the over-unders, which will be on next week's show. So make sure you stay tuned next week. All right, moving on to the co-main event. The co-main event is the heavyweight bout between the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. In my opinion, the biggest draw in the heavyweight division, which is kind of sad, but we don't have to get into that, against... what's Tuivasa' nickname? This is going to piss me off. What is it should be like Shoe Nice or something. Bam Bam. Tai Tuivasa, Mr. Bam Bam versus Derek Lewis is going to be the co-main event of UFC 271. This fight only got announced maybe a month ago. I don't even think it was a full month ago. I think it was less than that. Derek Lewis fought in the last card of 2021 on December 19th, 18th. I think it was December 18th. And he's already fighting again, not even 2 months later. Not that his fight in December was really taxing. He knocked out Chris Daukaus in the first round. But Tuivasa is going to pose a different problem, and that is Tuivasa is a bit quicker than Daukaus, and he has more power than Daukaus. Tai Tuivasa has also been on, I think, a 5-fight win streak, if I'm not mistaken. He's been on a 4-fight win streak, with names like Stefan Struve, Greg Hardy, and Augusto Sakai. Derek Lewis has only fought top 5 guys in the last year and a half, though. Derek Lewis is the heavy favorite in this fight. I say heavy. I don't think it's crazy odds. Derek Lewis is almost minus 200. Not even minus 200. And for this fight, Tai Tuivasa is definitely facing the best opponent he's ever fought. Derek Lewis's knockout power is something that Tuivasa's never felt against any of his opponents. The closest he probably came to fighting someone with the knockout power of Derek Lewis is Greg Hardy, and that's only slightly above Augusto Sakai. So Tuivasa's going to have to watch out for getting caught, but so is Derek Lewis. And we have seen that Derek Lewis does not get knocked out easy. He doesn't always... He tends to fight wrestlers more than he fights boxers, which is an interesting strategy on the UFC's part. And this is the first time Derek Lewis, in a while, come to think of it, might be fighting someone with the knockout power of Tuivasa. Here's the third pod bet. This fight's going under. I don't care if they put half a round, which they never will, obviously. But this fight is going under the 1.5 that is likely to be set. Almost sort of 2.5. That's not right. This fight is going to end by a knockout in the first round or the very early first minute of the second round. That's the second easiest bet of the night. And I think that Derek Lewis is going to knock him out. I think that Lewis is going to do it. I'm not willing to put Lewis or Tuivasa, though, because I think this is a really close fight and a fight that not enough people are giving Tuivasa credit for. Because I think Tuivasa is the better all-around fighter than Derek Lewis, which I guess can be said about just about every Derek Lewis fight he's ever been in, because he really just has the knockout power. But boy, does he have the knockout power. The UFC knockout king, right? He has the most knockouts in UFC history. And he's proven over the last couple fights that his stamina is actually better than we thought, because he's a big boy, he's chubby, and we didn't think that he was going to be this guy that can go into the third round. But he went into the third round with Cyril Gane, no matter how poor that performance was. And if he can do that, he can get in a boxing fight with Tai Tuivasa, keep his wits about him, and throw haymakers. And that's exactly what he's going to do. And I think he's going to knock out Tuivasa in the first round. I really do. Not much else to say about it. I think that Tuivasa, who only just got ranked is taking a huge step to fight Derek Lewis. I think this is a fight. The advertising alone is why you make this fight, because Bam Bam versus Derek Lewis. I would take a venture that even if Derek Lewis knocks out Tuivasa, they both chug a beer from a shoe, which is Tuivasa's thing, at the end of the fight, because I think that these are the kind of guys that they're both going to get fucked up after the fight with anyway. And I think the mash of personalities between these huge, hulking, big, heavyweight knockout artists is going to be really cool and interesting to watch. But I think Derek Lewis is going to be able to put him away. And I can't wait to see this fight. This fight I might be more excited for now that I've got myself going about it. And it's the top 3 fights of this pay-per-view are huge. So huge. And if Tuivasa wins, I'm looking now, right? Like, Tuivasa, as of right now, is the 11th ranked contender of the heavyweight division. And he has a chance to hop into, like, the top 5 if he could win. As I say that, what's going on, Garf?
Hello.
Gonna take a quick commercial break so I can catch up Austin. You're watching MMA Complete, brought to you by Fans Only Sports. Go check out fansonlysports.com and go follow us on our Twitter at complete_MMA. We'll be right back.
Isn't bad.
Oh, no, his defense is good, and it's only gotten better against, like, Blachowicz and Vettori. We saw him have a bunch of takedown defense, a great takedown defense against Vettori.
Yeah, that was the main concern. I think, man, dude, Adesanya's winning. It's just, I don't think the pod bet, we don't have to put him on it, but when he wins, we're going to be like, we should just put him on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
the other reason that I don't think we should put him on,
running Cannonier, I like the over on that.
Even if it's 2.5.
I like the over.
See, I'm thinking it might even be 1.5. I'm thinking it might be 1.5. If it's 1.5, I'm hammering the over.
1.5, I do over
because I don't think it goes to decision. Yeah, I know. I don't think it goes to a decision, but it's definitely not a first round end. We were just talking about the Adesanya-Whitaker fight, so I don't know if you want to briefly go over. There's a good amount of fights that we're really going to talk about more next week. For this week, I figured we would just kind of go over the big fights and the bets that we're going to do.
Yeah, the bets are what's important. Not what's important, but that's not what I meant to say. What I meant to say is Shakhmat Rakhmonov.
Yes.
It's fucking
that's
important.
That's what I started the show
important.
with. He's very important. So I got to be honest with you, okay?
I'm checking to see if the numbers changed.
A little bit more recent. Oh, he did. He went down. He's minus 230 now. I think we got him at minus 270.
280. Yeah.
280. I looked it up. Looked up Carlston Harris a little bit. He's on a 3-fight win streak, and he has first-round knockouts in his last 2 fights. Here's why that doesn't bother me as much as it probably should. Rakhmonov's a grappler. He's a wrestler. Yeah. And if you go against a boxer and you take him down, I think he's going to be able to put him away.
The thing is that wrestlers, they tend to... It depends, because some are patient. I hate to say that. They're not. They're impatient. But they tend to lean in more. Mm-hmm.
Get caught, trying to take down, Curtis Blade style.
Down, you know what I mean? So... That's the only thing, but yeah, I do agree with you. I
mean, either way, Rakhmonov's going to win. We have too much money on the line for Rakhmonov not to win.
I only have
The one ticket.
Yeah,
I think I have 3. But was it worth the sweat? Is
yeah,
it
it's
worth the sweat? I think it is.
It is
dude.
worth the sweat. It is.
And you have the over 3.5 figure eight of Moreno on the pod bet, right?
Yeah.
See, I didn't even do that. I should have. So your odds are going to be way better.
No, I won't. It's maybe mine's 75 to win 600.
I think mine's.
I don't really care.
I think mine's 150 to win like 750.
Oh, okay.
So
so if you put that over.
I know.
Whoa.
I know. Fucking.
Damn.
Yeah. But anyway.
No, but you got 3 tickets though.
Right. I have like.
You're gonna get like
I have a
$1,700
basketball
payout.
pick. If Rachmanov wins, I want to say I win $1,450.
Yeah, I need a bad pay.
So Rachmanov's gonna fucking win.
Hopefully.
Right. But getting back to going on to UFC 271. Anything you want to say?
Are we putting Rachmanov on this spot bet?
No,
Are we doubling
dude,
down?
we can't. No, we can't.
Are we
No,
doubling
fuck
down?
Fuck that. Hermanson versus Strickland this weekend.
I mean, he has a good number.
What do you got? What do you got for that? Hermanson's plus 180.
Oh, I take that. I take the plus 180.
I'm so taking that, dude.
I didn't know what the number would be.
I might throw Hermanson and Rachmanov on another parlay. To be honest with you, like I think if you're gonna double down on Rachmanov, that's what you do.
I think. Who are we talking about? Oh yeah, Strickland. Strickland, very patient fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Good jab. What maybe the best jab in that division.
Mm-hmm.
Of what. He's won me a lot of money, honestly.
Right.
But
there
has to come a point where you hit a rock wall.
The best fighter
and the takedown
and the best wrestler Strickland's ever fought, by far. And up till now, the best fighter who's ever fought is Uriah Hall. And Uriah Hall is a world-class striker 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But he's never fought a wrestler of Hermanson's caliber.
It's impressive that Sean Strickland hasn't gotten hurt on any of those fights.
Hermanson and Rachmanov's plus 300, by the way.
Yeah. That's a good bet.
I know it is. But
I also like Brunson and him on it. I mean, Brunson, do people betting on Brunson? Brunson's number went down a little,
going
not
down.
10 points.
I'm not huge on Brunson being on the pod bet anymore. I gotta tell you. Like we gotta stick with it.
No, you either do Brunson or Adesanya, but if you do Adesanya, you have to add one more. Brunson.
Adesanya is like almost minus 300 now.
Bro. How is he losing this fight?
Because Whitaker could take him down, dude.
And do what on the ground?
I think that Whitaker on the ground has as much of an advantage as Blachowicz had on the ground.
You think he grounds and pounds him?
Yeah, absolutely. We saw against Gastelum.
Adesanya has long-ass legs, too. We gotta remember that. So that actually works for you on the ground.
It could work for your favor and against you.
I think more for you than against you. Just because you're able to... Because he's so flexible.
You know what? I'm overthinking this. I'm so overthinking this. Because Whitaker can wrestle, but he wants to stand up. He wants to stand and bang, and no one can stand and bang with Adesanya in that division.
How many times did he take Cannonier to the ground?
3 times? Maybe?
Did he?
2 or 3 times, yeah.
And that was and Cannonier, he had a fucking broken arm.
Mm-hmm.
Too. So and he still couldn't finish him with his opponent with a broken arm.
0.
Oh shit.
Wait, who did we look for?
Hang on. This is all fucked up. This whole wire is fucked up. This shebang.
He did not take Cannonier down. He tried 3 times, didn't get a takedown. Whitaker's going to try and stand with Adesanya, and he's not going to win. So Adesanya's going to win. So maybe we can put Adesanya on.
Adesanya's minus 270. That's a good number. That's a better number than fucking Rachmanov.
That's a better number than what he had against Vettori too. All right, so we can put Adesanya on here.
Now, if he loses,
I will be upset.
Then we will start listening. No, we do listen, but maybe paying a bit more attention to what Zach has to say because that shit would be That'd be a good call out.
So Brunson money line, we might take off. Now I also have a couple bets that I
Take the money
like.
line out. Take the money line out.
You want to just grab that paper towel right there?
No, it's all right. We're good. We're good.
Oh, okay. Now there is some other prelim fights that I like. Alex Perez versus Matt Schnell's on this card. I like Alex Perez. Roxanne Modafferi versus Casey O'Neill's on this card.
Alex Perez minus 400. You better like him.
Yeah. I like
his number shot.
Modafferi versus O'Neill as well. And I think there was one other fight that I liked.
Oh, O'Neill?
No, I like Modafferi.
He's plus 280.
Really? Because Modafferi's higher in the rankings. Casey O'Neill might be... Oh, Casey O'Neill's 8-0. She's 24 years old, fighting a 39-year-old Modafferi. So I'm gonna look into that fight a little bit more. But I do like Perez for sure. I'm not ready to say it outright, but I like Hernandez over Moicano.
You're not saying the one that I'm waiting for you to talk about.
Jacob Malkoun?
Nope.
Who?
Bobby Green and...
Oh, I already talked about that. I like Bobby Green.
You like Bobby Green?
I like Bobby Green. Mm-hmm.
You said you hated him 2 weeks ago.
Did I?
Yeah. You're saying Haskrats to come up. You said you loved him. Oh, positive. Positive.
Huh, I don't remember that.
You said you didn't like Bobby Green.
Well, I like the fact, for Bobby Green's sake, that Hawk Paras struggled against Dan Hooker, who's a good striker, and Bobby Green's a really good striker, and he's powerful. And I think that's a bad matchup for Hawk Paras. Hawk Paras is only like 25 years old. Bobby Green's been on a 2-fight win streak for knockouts.
Yeah. I'm just looking at it.
The only way I don't like Green is if the fight goes long, because Bobby Green's 35, and I don't think if this fight goes past like the 1.5 mark.
AJ Dobson. I know, I'm listening.
No, you're good.
I think
Arlovsky versus Vondera is also a fight that we should look into, because Arlovsky could fuck this guy up.
There's a lot of fights this guy has,
42.
bro.
This is the guy that beat Tanner Boser, by the way, and that's the biggest reason I like him. Joking. Total
heavyweight, joke. I don't know.
So there's a bunch of other fights to talk about.
I hate betting on heavyweight.
I'm going to go ahead and say
You know we're betting fucking Lewis in the back.
Perez is a maybe. Just like Brunson.
What, Schnell?
Against Matt Schnell.
Is it worth the sweat? Is the minus 400 worth the sweat?
I think so, dude. We're gonna
okay, because we said that.
We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see.
All right, well, let's see what the number is.
For all five?
Oh, we don't have...
Well, we don't have the over-unders yet. Right, that's the biggest thing. So we're going to have to figure that out next week, which is why next week we're really going to have this all settled anyway. Hopefully they actually put over-unders on the fucking sportsbook this week. Like, they didn't even have them for 270, I don't think.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to get the Lewis Tuivasa under 1.5 on it because they're not going to have it for next week.
You don't think so?
No. Maybe.
Well, we'll just have to fucking hope and pray.
I mean, Tuivasa or Lewis, bro. I'm thinking Derek Lewis.
I think Derek Lewis too, but
it's not even
commit to that.
Yeah. Dude, Tuivasa was on the last fight. I always kept this in my head. He was on the last fight of his contract.
Mm-hmm. And then he started winning.
He won 4 in a row. And I'm thinking, well, Dana White's letting him win these 4 to hype himself back up so he gets more fights in. And I think he hits a brick wall.
And as soon as he gets into the rankings, he's only 11th ranked, he goes after the number 3 contender, Derek Lewis. That's a huge fucking step. Now, here's what I was said right before you got here. It's a huge step for Tuivasa. This is his biggest test yet. And it's the first time that he is facing anybody of the power of Lewis, because Derek Lewis has the great power. Mm. But I was looking at Derek Lewis's last couple fights. Right? You can see him here.
Yeah, well, he ain't going to knock someone out.
These fights. This is the first time Derek Lewis has fought someone with the knockout power of Tuivasa, too. He fights wrestlers, dude. He fights Oleinik. He fights Blades. He fights Gon. Now, Gon isn't a great wrestler, but he doesn't have the power. He has that well-around pick-and-pop kind of shit.
Dawkins does.
Dawkins doesn't have the power of Tuivasa, though. Dawkins is a little bit similar to Gon.
Tuivasa knocked out?
Tuivasa's knocked out Augusto Sakai, Greg Hardy, and Stefan Struve. Greg Hardy is not a great wrestler, but he does have some power, and he's similar to the style of Derek Lewis.
Similar, but...
No, it is pretty similar. It's comparable. Augusto Sakai...
I really can't... Yeah, I don't know.
Augusto Sakai is more similar, too, but he doesn't have the power. He's more of like a...
Greg Hardy? Derek Lewis? Doing that comparison though?
Just their style.
Okay.
Just their style. Greg Hardy is like a white belt to Derek Lewis's brown belt of heavy strikers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
And Ngannou's the black belt, I guess. But like, I don't want to pick either side. If you put a gun to my head, made me choose, I'm gonna say Derek Lewis, of course. But Bam Bam is interesting.
I do Lewis. It's Lewis, Adesanya, and Lewis, Adesanya. Over under in that fight? Oh man.
In what fight?
The Lewis Tsubasa.
I'm taking under 1.5, dude. You gotta fucking take that.
Yeah, Adesanya Lewis, and I'd probably Perez. That'd probably be my secondary bet. Lewis, Adesanya, Perez.
Yeah. I like that too. Make sure you guys tune in next week when we actually iron out the pod bet.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this. Oh, I just had something in my head and I totally forgot it.
Alright, well I got something.
Alright.
Who the hell is Phillips versus Rojo?
Fourth fight from the top of the main card. Kyler Phillips, I don't know if you remember this. We had a fight night that we watched at Dylan's house last year between Julian Paiva and Kyler Phillips. And it ended up becoming one of the candidates for fight of the year. It was a fight that Kyler Phillips like dominated this dude for the first round, and then Paiva like won the next two, and they thought it was going to be a tie, but Paiva ended up inching it out right at the end. And then he's fighting Marcelo Rojo, who has never finished an opponent in his UFC career. And this is a bantamweight fight. Not only that, but the other reason I was thinking this is like, if there was going to be one fight that goes to a decision on this card, it is 100% that fight. Bobby Green, Hawk Paras, that could be a knockout.
So who wins the fight when it goes to a decision?
I have no fucking clue.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to say Kyler Phillips because Rojo is, I want to say,
33.
1-1 in the UFC, and Kyler Phillips is like 3-1.
Yeah.
He's also a lot younger, and he has a better reach by 1 inch. I like Kyler Phillips in it, but I'm not picking either side. But I do think that fight goes over.
Okay.
I also have gone over those the fighters' last couple fights, like Kyler Phillips decision, and he had one more fight in the UFC that they're not showing here. That was a decision. Marcelo Rojo had a bunch of canceled fights, but this fight he got knocked out right at the end of the third round, and there was one other UFC fight he had that was a decision. This fight that he got knocked out with 30 seconds left would have hit the over 2.5 too. Just saying. That fight, we definitely talk about it more, but I think that is like the easiest bet of the fucking night. I swear to God.
That's the one I'm most nervous about.
Yeah?
It's the ones I sweat the most.
What, the over 2.5s? Or the ones
The ones that you're most confident in.
I'm pretty good with my most confident picks. Like, over the last couple months, I mean, we've been nailing pod bets lately, too.
Yeah, I know. As soon as the other people stop betting on them, we start nailing them.
I know, right?
Straight up.
As soon as Mark Dillon
we did like 5 in a row, dude. We fucking didn't hit.
Yeah, we did.
4?
266 was the card that we had all the fucking picks right, but we didn't put down like a solid pod bet. 267 we hit. We hit one with 267 and 268. 269 we didn't hit because we had Poirier over Oliveira, and then we're about to hit 270 when Rockman
wins. No, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, we have been turning shit around.
I was gonna say though 3 out of the past 4 times we've hit it. So,
yeah.
I don't expect to keep this up.
No, there's no way. We're definitely gonna miss one, but
like
that's why we've been making backup bets anyway, because the pod bet doesn't hit. We're gonna hit like 3 or 4 bets throughout the night.
I hit 2. But I mean, I'm gonna get paid out.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think we gotta take risks. So like the Brunson one on the pod bet, yeah, I think that's a fucking great bet, dude.
I know,
because
that's the best odds we're gonna have of any of those picks.
Yeah.
Brunson's the only underdog that we have up there.
Over unders on there. Yeah, that's right.
Right. You know, it's the one bet.
So we're really gonna be sweating this Lewis over 1.5 for a week. Under for a week, bro. That is a sweat, man.
You think so? Tuivasa Lewis?
I would take that off. I would. I really would.
Oh.
I really would, dude.
Let's wait till next week and we'll think about it because they might not even put over-unders out. So we might not even be needing to talk about it.
I think Lewis wins that fight. I don't know. I'm not even gonna overthink it.
I do too, and I'll probably sprinkle on Lewis, but I'm not confident enough about doing the pod.
I might add him on my pod bet then.
Okay, I like that.
And not take the over 1.5, the under 1.5.
I might add Bobby Green.
Well, we're gonna have a pod bet, and then we're gonna have our own bet.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's not even like we're.
Right.
Yeah, we're talking nonsense.
I still haven't cashed in that basketball bet that we hit that night at Locals. Like that's still upstairs, or that's still in my wallet. I haven't even gone because the next 2 times I went were Sundays or Saturdays before the playoff games, and the line was over
right now after
to
this
the tables.
Open until 9, I think, or 8:30.
Well,
I think.
Yeah.
I think.
I still can't remember the last thing I was gonna say. So, you got anything else? Hermanson Strickland.
Yeah,
Rob
Strickland.
Rob Canal
over
Harris.
under. What do you think? I think that's a 100%.
I think that's going over.
Decision.
Yeah.
And the only way Strickland wins is if Hermanson can't take him to the ground, which is very possible for the first
Over under
2 rounds.
4.5 of Hermanson Strickland.
4. Oh, it's a main event.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know if I'd touch it. Yeah, I don't know if I'd touch
the
it.
fucking game.
Hermanson's last main event went 5 rounds.
We bet on him.
With Vittori. Yeah, and we fucked up betting on him.
I would say Hermanson.
I would too. And like I said, Hermanson's plus 180 underdog.
That's a great number.
Yeah, it is.
I might toss him. I might sprinkle him on the what's
pod
him
bet?
and Brunson? What's him, Brunson, and Adesanya?
Do you want to add Rockman
No,
for shits and
do
gigs?
him, Brunson, and Lewis, because that's 3 sweats. That's a sweat pick.
Him, Brunson, and Lewis. Where's Derek? Oh, there he is. You think Derek Lewis? Plus 970. Hermanson, Lewis, and Brunson.
Bro.
Brunson's the big sweat of that.
That's a damn good number.
We got 2 underdogs there.
Yeah, but they're both
underdogs.
they're both main card. Anything
Right.
can happen main card. We've been watching this for a year. Fucking anything could happen, dude. Anything. Look at Kay Henson. She got her ass beat last
Yeah,
week.
she did. Look at
Fucking
Miranda
A.
Maverick
She
in the last pay-per-view.
fucked me over, dude. I had faith in you. She's pretty looking too, but damn, step it the fuck up, man.
And
Girl.
Sportsbook needs to step up their over-under games for UFC.
Yeah.
100%. All right.
It's foggy out, huh?
Yeah, it is, dude. I was going over the fucking bridge in Jamestown.
It's crazy foggy out right now. Like you're driving and then you can't see the road, only like the double yellow line. It's pretty cool.
Harris Rachmanov over under 1.5.
Under,
Under's the underdog.
but I
Plus
wouldn't bet
100.
on the fighters. I do the under.
All right. We might hit the casino. So are you good? Wrap up. Got anything else you want to say? We got a week to go before we got to put in our pod
We could hit the
bet.
casino up. I could go get some money out.
I'm gonna wait
I'm
until
thinking-
next week to put these bets down.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
It depends if you're
basketball
putting
games
Rachmaninoff
already
on
started.
some.
Basketball games already started. Hockey games already started. So
Yeah, Tico be betting everything, bro.
yeah, man, he told me he was 1 away of 3 different parlays yesterday.
Yeah.
You guys put in the fucking chat surgery. I'm like texting him today, like, yo, did you make it out of surgery? Okay, you good?
No,
bro?
surgery pick.
Yeah,
dude, surgery
no, I
pick.
got that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got Lakers Clippers tonight at 10 p.m. That's the only thing I would bet on.
Yeah.
Like Clippers minus 3.5.
I'm liking
Lakers plus
Hermanson
3.5.
and Rockmanoff, dude. It's
Lakers plus 3.5.
Lakers plus 3.5.
LeBron and Anthony Davis both still out.
No.
Dude, is fucking Kawhi still on? Kawhi's still on the Clippers, right? Is he not playing?
Yeah, he's still in the Clippers. Dude, it's kind of weird how like.
He hasn't been playing.
Silent, dude. Silent.
Has he not played all this season?
Yeah, all I remember from him is that weird ass meme laugh that he does, dude. He was, dude, he drives the same car he drove in high school. Respect to that. Like, I respect that. Like,
you know, he has the largest hands ever measured in the NBA, including like Yao Ming and shit.
Really?
Yeah. Swear to God, his hands go almost like halfway around the ball. Isn't that
Imagine
fucking crazy?
that.
Isn't that fucking
Imagine
crazy?
being a basketball, dude, and you're just like, yeah, like it's in your hand, like your hand.
Like his
holds
hand
the
goes
ball.
around
Like
a basketball.
His, like his hand's the trophy.
Yeah.
You know, it's so nuts.
What do you? I want to look up his, like how long his hand is. I don't even know what you would call that.
Dude,
measurement.
Shaq is a big human being. Yo, he has custom made. His house is custom made.
For the doorways and shit.
Doorway, 9-foot doors, dude. All in his house. You gotta think, that's a big ass door. That's a bitch to install. That thing's just on some fucking hinges, just perfectly leveled. That's crazy.
Actually, he has the second largest hands in NBA history behind Connie Hawkins, who is the guy, I don't know if you've ever seen the memes about the Hawk, who would literally, like, do this shit to different people in the NBA. And, like, literally. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, Kawhi has 11.25 inches between his thumb and his pinky.
Bro, mine's like half that.
No.
Less than half that.
I'm thinking that's like 9 inches. No, it's not. It's like 8. I'm using basis of measurement here.
I'm
But,
looking.
like,
Look at this podcast we're doing right now. We're trying to measure our
All right.
hands.
Thank everybody for tuning in. Podcast number 82 in the books.
Yeah.
82 already. It's kind of flying by. Make sure you check out the UFC
right.
live stream for UFC 271 on February 12th.
When is the 100th gonna be?
18 weeks. That's 4.5 months. So June 22nd. It's in June. I just came up with 22nd.
No, it'll be around. It'll be like June 17th,
Yeah.
around there.
So in June we'll hit episode 100.
What
We'll
are
have
we
to do
doing?
something. Yeah, we'll have to fucking do something, dude.
Are we getting?
Are we
drunk?
getting strippers or
No.
We popping bottles?
Maybe.
All right. All right. Thank you everybody for tuning in. February 12th is our next live stream for UFC 271. Make sure you go check us out on our Twitter @complete_MMA. Go follow us on our YouTube page, MMA Complete Podcast. Go check out fansonlysports.com and their social medias accounts linked to Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. We've been posting a lot of stuff lately. I've been posting a lot of articles, so please go check that out. And hope everybody has a good week of betting. Hope everybody enjoys the fight night coming up this weekend. And we will be back next week to share our pod bets with you. And hopefully Rachmanov wins, so we are 3 for 4 for pod bets. And 2022 starts off the right way. So thank you everybody for tuning in. We are out of here. Have a great night.